Hello, today's hip and glute toning exercises will start on the right side of our body. We take a lunge forward, we lift the leg and we circle it around, extend it behind you. Balancing here on that left supporting knee as we're working the right leg. Carefully taking the leg around and then going into our hip extension. We're doing each exercise for about 1.5 minutes. You can do it always for a minute or less, but really working into the right side of our body, toning and isolating the muscles of our right hip and glute as we do this first exercise. You take it into that forward lunge on that diagonal, opening up the hip flexor, then balancing, hands come to the floor as that leg circles behind you and extends. Then you've got to pick the leg, keep it hip height before it goes down to the floor, lunging forwards again. I like to use my arms here for balance, taking the hands to the floor, then lifting them up, lifting the chest as the leg circles through the hip. Nice slow and controlled movements here, really balancing, working that outer thigh of the right leg as it goes up and over an imaginary ball and then goes straight behind you. You're opening out that right hip when you take the leg behind you in hip extension, reaching it and then lifting it hip height as it comes forwards and opening out through the front of the hip as you take that lunge. The next exercise will have us on an all-fours position. The knee crunches into the chest, it extends out and opens and closes. Still working that right side of your body, working that right hamstring and glute. Use the abdominals to pull the knee into the chest, extend it behind you, and then the leg abducts and adducts back into that midline. Thinking about abdominals to pull the knee into the chest, extend it back, and open and close. Your option is always to be in a plank position here. Really thinking about strong, stable abdominals and glutes, strong through the shoulders and the arms. If you're up in a plank, you can always drop it down to the knee on that left supporting side. Maybe doing a few in plank and then dropping it to the knee and continuing on. Really being mindful to pull the knee in. You can round the back a bit, tuck that chin to get the roundness from your spine. Extend the spine, extend the leg, and then use that outer thigh to open and close that leg. And the hip here really has to stay squared off towards the floor. So don't be tempted to open the hip out as that leg goes out away from you. So the shoulders are facing the mat, the hips are facing the mat, the pelvis is squared off and stable. We use that outer thigh to open and close that leg. We use the abdominals and glutes to round through the spine and extend. Taking a rest here. That was 1.5 minutes doing that second exercise. We've got to do it on the other side now. So when you're ready, you set yourself up, you lunge into that left side. You find your balance as you circle that leg behind you, extend it on that high diagonal. You're opening the hip in this exercise. Open through that hip flexor as you lunge. Pick the foot off the floor, circle it and kick open behind you, trying to open out through that pelvis a little. Find your balance here as you're circling your leg through space, nice and controlled. One side is usually a little more stable, so you can use those hands as much as you need. Try and lift that chest, lunge forwards, and then pick the foot up. Try and keep the knee hip height, circling it, thinking about going over an imaginary ball or a barrel so that knee doesn't drop as it goes back in space. Breathing here and being controlled, really targeting the muscles of our glutes and hips. Maybe feeling it in the stabilizing thigh. The stabilizing glute will have to work to keep you upright and balanced. Reaching forward picking that leg up, circling it behind you, reach it high on that diagonal, but pull the belly in to really keep length through that lower back. When you've done a minute and a half, we go on to our second exercise. Finishing off this side, you've got your knee tuck, your leg extension behind you, and then it opens and closes. Really think keeping that hip, the left hip squared off, facing the mat. Pull the knee into the chest, reach your leg behind you, and then open and close to the left. The leg doesn't have to be high here. We don't want to kick that leg behind you and arch through that lower back. We've got to stay strong through the lower abdominals. Option to take it to that strong plank. Continuing to pull the knee to the chest, extend it out, and it opens and closes. Without letting that pelvis rotate, without dumping into the shoulders or collapsing into the shoulder blades. You can always drop it back down to that knee. Finishing off, we've got a minute and a half in each exercise, working on one side of the body and then working on the other side of the body. Nice and strong through the arms, nice and strong through those glute, those abdominals, those outer and inner thighs. If this is hard on the wrist, there's the option to come onto the forearms, but just then modify that knee tuck. Really having to round the spine on your hands and knees to pull the knee in and then send it away. When you've done here, you can take a rest, maybe sit down, stretching out those glutes and outer thighs by taking that figure 4 stretch, opening the knee out, flexing that foot. I like to do some ankle mobility drills here, some toe mobility drills, switching those legs over, just stretching out through the foot and through the ankle while opening that knee to really stretch and release through the side of the hip and the glute there. Nice work with these exercises. I hope you can join me again soon. Thanks, guys.